Mhm. Okay, all right. So, hello, Richard. Hello, dear friends. So, today we'll start covering a new topic, and this topic is called small talk. So, together with my true expert, today we'll discuss it, and Richard will have a chance to give us some useful tips. So, Richard, tell me please, is small talk a part of British culture?
Yes, Tatiana, small talk is very much a central part of British culture. It is very common all over the British Isles, although obviously, as you know, there are four countries in Britain. So depending which part of the country or which country you're in, small talk will have some regional variation.
Okay. For example, could you please provide some examples?
Well, the most common small talk, and it's very well known, I think, around the world, because I've spoken to many people on my travels. The most common small talk is regarding the weather,
Hmm.
because uh, Britain, we can have all four seasons in one day, can start off sunny, can go rainy, it can be windy, you can get snow, and it can end up being sunny at the end of the day. So it's a number of locations in the world also have this kind of variable in weather within even one day. It can be very different, but it's a very favourite topic for British people to talk about, even if they know the other person, but particularly if you don't know the other person. The safest topic, if you want to initiate a conversation, and sometimes you won't have to initiate it, they will initiate it with you, will be to comment on the weather. Now, that's mainly related to being outside. But even if you're inside, people may still comment about how the weather was when they arrived, or what the weather's going to be like when they leave, or just generally about the weather.
I see. Got you. Thank you so much. And tell us, please, for example, if you're standing in a queue or in a bank or in a supermarket, what are the possible topics that people can discuss to
Well,
engage into communication?
well, certainly the weather will still be on that list, and maybe the first. But uh, uh, a lot of small talk relies on the situation or the location where you're at. So if you're in a queue in a supermarket, often the topic, particularly if it's a long queue, the queue will be the subject of the small talk, because you'll discuss how long the queue is, how long it will take, whether this is usual, whether there's some strange reason why the queue isn't moving, and also you might refer to queue etiquette, in which case it's certainly frowned upon for people to try and get further into the queue than they should be, that everybody respects the seniority of the queue. And you can also ask, though, if you only have like one item or two items, and other people in front of you have a lot of items, or maybe a whole trolley full, it is perfectly allowed for you to inquire whether it's possible for you to go in front of that person, because you're not going to be very long. And sometimes even people with a lot of shopping will look at someone behind them in the queue and say, you only have a few items, you can go ahead of me. So the etiquette is definitely there. And obviously, if somebody does try to, as we would say, push in, the Americans say cut in. If someone does try to obtain an unfair advantage in the queue without going through the etiquette of asking people, then they will be subject to strong condemnation, even though that may be silently everybody wishing that they would have something bad happen to them. There are also some people that are going to make comment to the person, either directly or indirectly, that they are behaving in a bad manner, and certainly being very un-British.
I see. So basically, this person can become the best topic for small talk if the weather is discussed.
Certainly, if somebody did that, then they would hear conversations about them from other people in the queue, even if it wasn't directed at them. They would
Mhm.
hear people saying how rude or how terrible or how awful they are. So they would be subjected to a lot of pressure to mend their behavior.
I see, I see. Got you. And tell us, please, Richard, when you travel internationally, and I know that you're a true world traveler, so what are the topics that mostly travelers discuss or you can commonly hear on a bus, on a plane? Could you please share?
Yes, I've traveled extensively, as you know, and the weather obviously can be a subject to conversation because if particularly when you're waiting for a bus or whether the weather has been particularly bad, people will often comment on how it's prevented them from traveling or seeing what they wanted to see. But generally, particularly with other travelers and sometimes with local people as well, the main subject to be traveling. So, where are you from? Where are you going to? Where did you come from? If it's a local person, they will often ask you what you think of their country, and they will expect you to be complimentary. So it's always best to be very diplomatic. Even if you are having a bad time, you should try and think of the positive things that you have experienced in their country, and at least initially before you discuss some other problems, which they may well agree with, because if the transport is bad, they will know that anyway. And so if you say, well, everything else has been great, but the transport is a bit bad, they will say, yeah, yes, it's always bad. And we always complain about it. And it's nice to know that other people from other countries notice the same problem as we do.
I see, got you. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know that you have a magical football shirt, the one that you always take with you or wear. So could you please tell us a story? So what is the story behind this shirt?
Well, there's not one shirt in particular. I have a range of football shirts, being a very big football fan. And the reason I wear football shirts as my default clothing when I'm traveling is that they are so light and easy to carry, wear, wash, dry. But also, the added benefit is that football is the most popular worldwide sport, and pretty much every country you travel in will have football fans. And if you're wearing a football shirt, one of the first things that will happen is someone will initiate a conversation with you based on your shirt. They may not know which country you're from or where you're going from or to, but they will have a comment to say about your shirt, why you're wearing it, what the team is, whether they have a football team that they support, or just a general conversation about football altogether. So sometimes it's very easy to get into conversation, particularly with other travelers or local people, by just simply wearing an item of clothing that will provoke a discussion. For me, it's football shirts, but obviously it could be some other item of clothing that is a topic, a subject to conversation that will initiate that with the people you're around.
I see, got you. Okay, and Richard, could you please briefly share a story of you traveling and engaging into communication with security person?
Oh yes. Well, on my recent trip, I was traveling to the airport in Kyrgyzstan at Bishkek, and when I was going through the security. Obviously, sometimes these are very formal, and people don't smile and don't talk to you, and are very officious, just telling you do this, do that, or don't do this, or don't do that. But on this occasion, the security chap in charge of the security screening uh, only wanted to talk to me about the football shirt I was wearing and discuss the latest match and what was happening in the Premier League, and what his thoughts were on regarding the team and the players. So the whole process was not about security. It was about football and where I was from and the team I supported.
I
So
see.
it made for a much more pleasant experience going through security, which is not always the case.
Yeah, sure. That's very, very, very true. So whenever we are traveling, we'd better get at least one magical football shirt just in case.
Well, I can certainly recommend it as a way of engaging with people on your travels and having it help to facilitate a good conversation with people.
I see, got you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for sharing your ideas. Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
You're very welcome as always, Tatiana.
Thank you.